to understand this morning by somebody I had the opportunity to talk to. So let me just walk you through this. So we were having a conversation about something that this guy was going through, and actually the sort of the post story about something he had gone through, and he was talking about being very angry about something. And the thing about this anger that he had was it was completely legitimate. It was based on something that really, really happened. No reason, no one would ever say about this anger that he experienced that it was unjust or that was somehow wrong. But what he realized as we talked about it was that, first of all, so that the thing that he was angry about ultimately resolved in a way that was fabulous and that he couldn't possibly have predicted when it was happening. So in other words, it turned out really well. And so in some ways it's like, and so then we kind of look at what happened after he was angry and how long it continued on and the effects that it had on people. And it's like, wow, so there was a lot of time wasted there in the context of that anger and the effects that it had. But the more important thing we came to was he's like talking about how as soon as he took up this anger energy, it was like very apparent how it felt. And I'm like, yeah, I've had my own experience of that anger energy and how easy it is to get into that anger energy place and start spraying it around people. And I'm hoping that as I throw this out, you too are familiar with this happening. There's a reason why that matters. Not that I want to make sure everybody does the shitty things that I do, but that familiarity is a thing that you share. Because so angry place, blah, 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 and that anger sort of spilling out to others and saying things that maybe we regret that we said and sort of spraying that anger out. And that's a very familiar thing. And so the fact that it was familiar and kind of, I'm like, that's so easy to do. And then I'm like, wait a minute. So that's really familiar. That's really, really capable of doing that. And everybody believes that that's, there's nobody who I would say, ever been around somebody who's really angry and you kind of feel their angry energy and it kind of is hard to be around that energy. And I was like, oh yeah, I totally understand that. Well, what about the other side? And I'm not talking about the neutral side where I'm just not angry and just kind of everything's kind of okay. I'm talking about the idea that we should be able to actually manifest that energy in a positive context and spray it out as well. And I realize that as I'm saying this, it starts to seem like, oh, that's sort of that crunchy granola sort of, energy thing and spiritual thing. Why? Why is it? Because we totally take up this negative thing as like, oh, totally understand what you're talking about. It happens all the time. I was in this bar one time and blah, 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 blah. Like, it's just like totally natural and normal, not spiritual at all. It's just like something that absolutely happens. And we all totally agree it happens. But when we go to that positive thing, it's like, ooh, that can't possibly be possible. That's ridiculous. And I said to the guy, it's like, there's no North Pole. There's just a South Pole, and there's no North Pole. I mean, there has to be a North Pole because there's a South Pole. These things are interactive. They're part of each other, right? So it can't, if there's one exists, the other one has to exist. And so I was just like, this is the space that I get into. I'm like, this is really amazing. So there clearly has to be this space. We clearly have to be able to do this. It clearly has to be as natural as the negative thing. And it's not like this weird, crunchy, inaccessible kind of spiritual thing, because that's not. So then what is it? And why are we so unfamiliar with it? And why does it seem like this totally unattainable thing? So anyway, something to think about. If anybody has thoughts on that, I'd love to hear them. But I'm totally going to be working on kind of trying to access that thing so I can start doing that thing, spreading whatever it would be out like a fire hose, because, I think, we can kind of use some of that. And the other thing about it is how he was talking about what it was like for him to be in that energy. Totally sucked. And so I'm thinking, wow, so that being in that other energy is got to be totally awesome. So I totally would like to be in. So if I can feel that the opposite of that anger energy in a way, that seems like that would be great for me. And then if I can spray it around, like you can spray around the negative energy in a way that affects people, that'd be totally cool. So it's totally cool for me and the people around me. Sounds like a win-win. So totally interested in figuring out how to do that. If anybody out there already knows how to do that, please let me know. But if you don't, I'm going to be trying to figure it out. And if I figure it out, I'll let you know. So anyway, something to think about for today. I'll be back tomorrow. And if you're interested, I'm going to be doing a little busking probably around 2:30 or so. But great.